Connect in. All right. Hey, welcome to Simon Chartier's New York Stories. Now, I told this story before, but I had a previous version of it, but I'm going to do it over because I want to do it over. I want to add some more details and stuff. So, this story begins at the Bretton Hall Hotel, which was on 85th Street and Broadway on the Upper West Side. And I knocked around the Upper West Side plenty. That was like, kind of like my haunt, my stomping ground. So this hotel, the first time, it's one of my earliest memories. When I was really young, my parents had kind of split up, and I was in the Bronx for a while with relatives, but then my mother took me, and my grandmother. My father was living in this Bretton Hall hotel place on 85th Street and Broadway. It was kind of an SRO hotel or something. So anyway, this is when I was really little. We go up there, and my mom is trying to talk to my dad, and my dad just runs out of the hotel room naked. I remember that he was naked, and he starts just beating the crap out of my mother and screaming at her, and he was like, boom, he was beating my mom up. She fell down, and there was one of the ladies, the cleaning ladies in the hotel was there too, and she was like aghast. And my grandmother took me and got me out of there. And I remember my grandmother took me for a walk to Central Park and was singing to me in Russian. Right after she was singing this Russian song, Karashki Bublivki. I can't speak Russian, but I remember that. I don't remember what happened after that, but that was like probably the very early 60s, like 1961 or 62 or something like that, right? So needless to say, my parents, their relationship wasn't doing so hot back then. So all these years later, I'm kind of like kind of teenage ne'er-do-well drifter. It's like late 70s, about 78. Now I got my hippie drug dealer friends. They were all like these long hair hippie guys that were dealing weed and acid and God knows what else. And they had this suite in the Bretton Hall Hotel, the same hotel where this previous incident had transpired. And they had like this big drum set with like 5 tom-toms on it. And they had like double stack Fender Bassmans, and they had some kind of Marshall. They had a Marshall half stack, and they had like a double stack Fender Bassman amp, and a PA and everything in the hotel room. And in the middle of the afternoons, they would rehearse. They had this band Toast, and it was like this guy I went to high school with, Johnny Wilson, and this other guy, also Johnny, and this guy Michael Brown. And they said band Toast. And they used to, in the middle of the day, they used to blast. I mean, we were talking like, cranked Marshall half stack in the Bretton Hall Hotel. And this is why I'm telling the story over, because I'm trying to paint a picture of New York and what it was like to grow up in this fucking times. I mean, so you could get away with being like 18-year-old fucking hippie with and renting a hotel room out and just blasting really loud rock music, and the cops wouldn't come. Nobody would tell you to turn down. I mean, you just, it was a fucking wide open town. Anything goes, right? So all these years later, I'm going up there to Bretton Hall Hotel. Now, the night before, I ran into my buddy. He's passed away, Marco Oriel. We also called him Crazy Marco, and he was another hippie guy. Like I said, I was a hippie before I was a punk rocker. So he lived in the train tunnels underneath Riverside Park. And he'd done a lot of acid, so he was a little bit out there, but he was such a nice guy. Marco Oriel, I loved him. He used to call me El Puro because he said I was purely dedicated to music. Uh, which is kind of funny because I always just thought I was purely dedicated to being a fuck up. And so I run into Marco I would always run into him at the weirdest times in the morning, like 4:30 in the morning. I run into Marco, and he goes, El Puro, tómalo, tómalo, and he gives me a piece of hash like this. So the next day I'm at the Bretton Hall Hotel, and I'm watching all my friends jamming out, you know, and so they give me a piece of opium. They had all this opium, right? Like they give me. So now I got this big piece of hash and opium. Well, this is when I was also playing with the Italian wedding band out in Brooklyn, the Eddie D Orchestra. Uh, and I ran into this guy Terry I knew, and Terry had played drums for Wayne County, the rock and roll drag queen. Now is Jane County, having made the full transition. But then he was he was a he then. He was Wayne County, and he also played for the country singer Farron Young. And now he was playing for this band, the Classics, and they were this doo-wop band, another like Italian American band from Brooklyn, and they had like the last big doo-wop hit Till Then, and it was like, hang on, it was like this, right? Till then, darling, please wait for me. Till then, whatever may be. Till then, if I see you again, please wait. Till then, right? So you get the idea. So I ran into Terry. He was playing for these guys, and that was their one big hit. I think that was their one record. So they used to do a lot of covers too. Like, they used to do a lot of covers. Like, I remember, because Terry said, hey man, they need a guitar player, and they're going on the road. And I was like, oh shit, I want to go on the road. Right? So I was starting to rehearse with those guys. Now it turns out we go on the road. It was in a Dodge like cargo van with no windows in it and no seats. So we were sitting on top of the amps the whole time with the amps and the drums there. So like my seat in the van was sitting on top of my amp, and we were getting $50 a night. That was 1978. Hey, I'm still playing for $50 fucking dollars a night. So like zug nicht, So anyway, and we would get like a hotel room that we would all like like 2 or 3 guys in a hotel room, but we'd have to pay for our own food. They never fed us for free. But hey, gig's a gig, man. So I was going to a Classics rehearsal, so I left the Bretton Hall Hotel and I ran into my buddy Josh, and I got Josh the gig playing bass, and I got into high school with him, and he was and is a really really good like 70s progressive rock bass player, like Yes, King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. That was his bag. So we're on the train going to New Jersey to rehearse with the Classics. So besides music and playing with Eddie D Orchestra, I was also really into writing graffiti at this point in my life. And I've never been a very good artist, but I was a tagger. I was like a get up on everything, write on everything, so I was really into graffiti. It was like writing graffiti everywhere, and my tag was Senile 1. So we get off the train in Rahway, New Jersey, where there's like a big prison. We get off the train, and the thing is like Emile and Louis and Bobby, the classics, they were going to pick me up at the train station and go to rehearsal. But I'm waiting for them. They're not there. So I say to Josh, Josh, lay Chicky for me. Wait for me. So I seen this big wall, this big, beautiful, blank, perfect white wall. So I start tagging on it, and I write, New Jersey sucks. Senile Run. And before I did this, I ate the whole hash and the whole opium. So, like, I got nice, man. I was getting nice. By the time the train was out of the fucking tunnel to Jersey, I was like nice. You know, I was fucking loaded. So I get out, I do the graffiti. So now, Josh, excellent bass player, but maybe not the greatest lookout because this car comes around a corner. It's a police car, and they jump out, they grab me, handcuff me, throw me in the back of the car. So we're in the back of the building. They drive around to the front of the building. It turns out that I was tagging on the back of the police station in Rahway. So they take me around to the front. They literally drove like from the back of the building to the front of the building, like 75 feet. They take me out of the car. They throw me in the cell. And then at, I'm sitting in there, right, in the cell. And then the lieutenant comes up to me, and I go sit at the desk. And he goes, well, what did you do? What did you do? And I said, I wrote graffiti. He goes, what did you write? I said, I wrote New Jersey sucks. And he goes, well, at least you didn't get that part wrong. And he says to me, listen, kid, this is what I'm going to do for you, okay? I'm going to try to get you out of here real fast, all right? I'm going to take you into the court now. I was lucky court was in session. I'm going to take you to the court now, go before the judge, just plead guilty what you did. Don't be a wise guy. I'll try to get you out of here as fast as I can. I know your friends are waiting for you. Right? So I go into the court, and the judge is like, well, he looks at the page, he goes, what did you do? And I said, sir, I inscribed a scatological utterance upon the wall. And the judge goes, how'd you like to do 30 days? And I'm like, no, sir, no, I wouldn't like that. He goes, then shut up. Sign this piece of paper. This piece of paper says you agree to not come back to the state of New Jersey for 10 years. And I signed it, so I have it in writing. I wasn't allowed to go to Jersey for 10 years. And then Emil and Louis are like, hey, where were you? You're late. Oh, I was in jail. Okay, here we go. At the hop. Da 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 ba 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 ba. At the hop. Boom boom boom. So, well, I'm going to rehearsal anyway. Okay, my second story is, and this is a few years later. This is probably about 1982, 1983. It's a few years later. I'm hanging out with Zon Data, real name Dean Duraco. Phenomenal song, punk rock all the way, phenomenal punk rock songwriter, phenomenal punk rock guitar player and singer. I was in his band Pop Tones Incorporated, and we're on the number 6 train. I was working for this guy, Tommy Wombat, and I'm going to have a whole separate story on Tommy Wombat, but I was working for this guy, Tommy Wombat, and he had a reefer store. So it wasn't legal like it is now. Like now, weed is legal, but back then it was illegal. So they had all these stores, but they would kind of do it on the sneak tip. You know, it was kind of a bootleg kind of thing. So I was my assignment was I had to run a pound of pot downtown to the village to some rich guy's apartment who's buying a pound of pot. So I go down the subway, and of course, I pinched a bud. It was a whole pound. They'll never miss this. I pinched a bud out of their pound and re-wrapped it up, and I rolled 2 joints, put them in the front of my jeans jacket, right? So I'm hanging out with Zon, so I'm going to deliver the weed, and then me and Zon were going to go like to Tompkins Square Park and like smoke weed or something, right? That was our plan. So I'm on the number 6 train, and there are these 2 other guys sitting down at the end, and they're smoking angel dust, right? PCP. Now, Zon was really big into dust. So he goes over, hey, man, how you doing? Well, he's shooting shit with them, so they hand him the dust. So he's smoking dust with them, and they're all dusted. And I'm like, so I whip out a joint, and I fire up a joint on the train, because I figure, hey, they're getting high, I'm going to get high on my shit. All of a sudden, this big cop gets on the train. And at first, he doesn't walk up to me. He walks up to the dust guys, and he goes, and he's like, yeah. And he just turns and he walks up to me, and he goes, you, get off the train. So he grabs me, pulls me off the train. It was Grand Central, 42nd Street train station. Pulls me off the train. I'm on the fucking platform. Zahn cut out and ran. He was already dusted. When he saw the cop, he just ran in between cars. So I didn't see him the rest of the day. You know, it wasn't like you couldn't call nobody if you lost contact with them. You just had to wait till the next time you saw them. You know, there was like no phones like they got nowadays. So he ran away. So the cops got me. I got a pound of weed in his bag. And the cop says, give me the bag. I'm like, oh shit. I'm going to the precinct, then I'm going to the bullpen. Since I don't have any bail money, I'm going to go to Rikers Island until somebody bails me out. I'm like, I am fucked. And I'm going to owe Tommy Wombat a whole lot of fucking money. I am fucked. My balls were here. So the cop grabs the bag. And he opens it up. And he goes, hey, smells like some pretty good shit. And I'm like, and he goes, got a joint? And I go, yeah. I hand him a joint. He hands me back the bag with the pound of pot. And he goes, now get the fuck out of here. Which I did. I went down. I delivered the weed, but I did pinch one more joint's worth of pot out for myself to make up for what the cop took. All right. Thank you for watching another episode.